Welcome to the Wordy Pair Podcast, your go-to hub for all things writing, world building, and the occasional dive into the weird and wonderful world of fiction. We're breaking down the barriers between you and your next great story. Whether you're a seasoned scribe or just scribbling your first sentences, we've got something for you. We'll be discussing everything from crafting compelling characters to dissecting the good, the bad, and the downright bizarre in the world of fiction. Okay, this script says you guys are eccentric. Isn't that just a 3-syllable word for weird? No offense. So, whether you're in need of inspiration, a good laugh, or just a couple of weirdos to keep you company on your writing journey, you're in the right place. Thanks for tuning in to the Wordy Pair Podcast.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Wordy Pair Podcast. As always, I'm Rudy.
And I'm Justin.
And today we're going to be talking about the current book that Justin is working on.
The book in progress?
The progress book.
BIP?
Yeah, the BIP.
I never liked the work in progress moniker people use. I don't like thinking of things as the whip because that just reminds me of Yes Minister and how politics works. And then I laugh a bit thinking of Yes Minister, and then I cry a bit thinking of politics.
Yeah, and Yes Minister.
And yeah. That's a great show, and you need to watch the whole thing. I don't care how much soul pain it is.
I mean, I have it on DVD. I just never gone through the whole thing, so I probably should get on that.
We'll talk about that show one day. That might be absolutely. That might be something we have to do. You should watch that show, and we should just talk about that show. It's glorious.
All right, I'll write it down. So, setting that aside for the moment, we are going to talk about your current project, your current book that you are the writing of, and how you've just spent the last 40 days working on it and just done one action scene at the end and still not done, or something like that.
Oh god, yeah, it's crazy. Actually, I didn't even think of that. I have no idea where does the action start for the final battle in this. It's like,
well, so let's get a little perspective. The title of the book is
Ebrelina in the Pixie Lands.
In the Pixie Lands, not and the Pixie Lands.
In, correct.
Okay, good. So now we've got that. It is a kind of like a side sequel to The Good Guy. Is that right? Pretty much?
Sort of, yeah. It's so in The Good Guy you have Ray Peril, and At one point in the story he comes across his sorceress cousin, Ebrelina Peril.
Yep.
Who is a bit younger and a bit brattier than he is, and supposedly the most powerful sorceress in the world, but she just can't seem to beat Ray.
She's a bit more scarlet than he is as well.
No, that's
someone else.
That is Ray's sister, Victorina Peril.
You're right. Okay. I had those two characters kind of fused into a horrifying alchemist kind of amalgamation that was begging to be killed in my head. But there we go.
Now, Victorina was the sister of Ray Peril, who lived in the castle and had the succubus and fish dude as a servant.
Right.
And she is supposed to be every bit as frightening as Ray is.
Yeah.
To an extent. I mean, she makes the comment herself that, yeah, if he was here to fight me, we'd be running the other way. So
yeah.
But she's got that above everything kind of, facial expression, a bit not haughty, but kind of bored with everything, and feels like a lot of things are beneath her. Whereas Ebrelina, who, for the purposes of we're talking about it anyway, she kind of grew up in Victorina's castle.
Okay.
And she's their cousin. She's much younger. She's still 19-ish in this story.
Okay.
She's not quite as depraved as Ray and Victorina. She doesn't go on murderous rampages like Ray does, where it's oh, these people think there's something, huh? I'm going to show them otherwise.
Yeah.
She doesn't go out and just slaughter vampires because they're in the way.
I already said what a shame. What do you want from me?
Yeah. I apologize for that. But And the same token, she's got that touch of madness the Ray Peril family has, and she's also a kind of younger than her age brat mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas she's cast with another crew of 2.
Okay.
Kind of like how Ray had Silence and Erzgelda tagging along.
Right.
Her cast of characters is herself, Hazred Chupacabra, who's a half-elf.
And not a Chupacabra.
And not a Chupacabra, that's correct.
Okay.
And a Chupacabra named Gabriella Madness, who is not related to Hazred in any way.
But is a Chupacabra.
Yes. In fact, Gabriella was Ebrelina's pet for some time, and then later became her best friend.
Now, we did mention these characters a couple episodes ago when we were talking about the sequel short story / novelette, the Vampire Lord. What was it called? Quest of the Vampire Lords?
Quest of the Vampire Lords, yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about these characters a little bit then, but we didn't get into them in any detail. So if you're feeling a little deja vu right now, that's okay. We're going to get past it.
I mean, will we? We talk about my stuff way too much, but you know what? I like doing it. We're going to do it.
Yeah, okay.
And it wasn't my idea this time.
You say that, but there's no proof.
There is no proof. I'm humble bragging.
Did you read a lot of books this week?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about book bragging at some point anyway, yeah.
But
okay, so you've got these 3 characters. You've got a sorceress, you've got a non-Chupacabra. Wait, what is her thing? What does she do?
Gabriella Madness is a Chupacabra.
No, not the Chupacabra. The one named Chupacabra, who isn't a Chupacabra.
Hazred Chupacabra. He is pretty much... I sort of, for the purposes of hiding what he actually is, I went with a typical, like, warrior elf character, except he's got a little bit more wisdom than usual, but he's not always treated as if he's got any of that wisdom. He's my Gowry Gabriev, essentially.
Okay.
Which, if we go back to where we talked about the books versus the show, Gowry was a lot... of the Slayers. He was a lot more intelligent in the Slayers novels than he was in the cartoon.
Right.
And, I mean, there's some differences here. Like, Hazred is... He kind of follows Ebrelina around for 2 reasons. 1, she's the only person who ever defeated him. Mm-hmm. And 2, he figures if he sticks around, he'll find some good fights just being so close to someone who's likely to get herself into trouble.
Someone who's related to Ray Peril.
Yeah, and this is a marked difference between Ebrelina Peril and Ray Peril.
Yeah.
If we look at Ray Peril as a deus ex machina who goes from one end of the story to the other just as an unstoppable force.
Right.
Ebrelina is not so much an unstoppable force, just as a very, very obstinate and difficult to stop force once she's made up her mind. She has a dedication to what she calls treasure hunting and what Gabriella calls thieving.
Okay. Borrowing from Final Fantasy VI?
Kind of, yeah. They go
verbatim
looking for ruins, and is that verbatim?
Yeah.
I've never played Final Fantasy VI. Why does this keep happening?
I don't know, because it's funny?
It is funny. I mean, it's a good trope. But it's a little bit different with these two because Gabriella also wants to hunt for treasure, and while she may be more willing to admit that they're basically just stealing old relics from various people, civilizations, living or dead,
yeah,
she doesn't care that much, and she just likes correcting Ebrelina to give her a hard time.
Okay.
So these character interactions are a little bit different, whereas Ray Peril was kind of aside from everyone else and a bit... He occupied a higher plateau of existence in the story.
Yeah.
Where everything sort of happened in his vicinity and was commented on by the other characters.
Right.
In this story, Ebrelina, powerful as she may be, she's complemented more than anything by Gabriella, who is also herself a powerful enchantress. Mm-hmm. And Hazred, who being a half-elf, can not really use magic like a magician or sorceress would, but it kind of like in my stories, elves are just, it's like they're fish in the sea, you know, that it's magic is water and they swim in it and they can kind of feel it out pretty well. Okay. But they don't necessarily need it. It just sort of moves around them.
Yeah.
So he can use it to bolster his insane strength. whereas, Ebrelina will find some clever magic way to fight things, and by clever I often mean just blowing things up, but sometimes clever.
Okay.
Hazred will punch things or hit them with his sword. And you saw this in The Good Guy when I had that last chapter where a lot of the characters throughout The Good Guy reappear in the last chapter.
Yeah.
And Hazred is one of those characters who didn't really do anything when they were first encountered in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the story, there was a scene where he kind of cleaved a metal wall that nobody else could penetrate in half with his sword.
Okay.
He did so using a combination of his strength and the magic that the elves can control.
Right.
So it kind of... I kind of defined these characters in that book, and then I just sort of worked on making what they do a little more intricate in this story.
Okay.
Gabriella is probably... It's hard to call her the brains of the operation. All three characters have some unique wisdom about them that the others require at some point.
Sure.
But Gabriella is the most educated out of all of them, whereas Ebrelina is probably the most talented at magic. Gabriella knows more about magic than she does, so it's her balancing point. I don't just have Ray Peril, who is better at all this stuff than everyone else, because that's what makes the story work. I have Ebrelina, who is constantly cross-referencing Gabriella, who carries a ton of books with her. Mm-hmm. They've all got these satchels called entombing satchels. They can... It's basically Link's endless pouch from the old Legend of Zelda cartoon.
Yeah. Back
in the old Super Mario cartoon days.
Sure.
But...
Excuse me, princess.
Yeah. Which is a line I think I put in this story now that I think about it.
Good.
Ebrelina acts like a brat so much that everyone kind of has that attitude towards her in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the villain in this story gets really frustrated with Ebrelina and makes several references to her acting like some kind of haughty princess or something.
Okay.
This story kind of unfolds as a sequel in a way, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the events that happened in The Good Guy, other than at the end of The Good Guy, we're kind of following Ebrelina, Gabriella, and Hazred around in we'll call it the last part of the last chapter, which it's basically an epilogue of what's happening with some of the characters.
Yeah.
Well, in their particular story, they're hunting for treasure beneath the city of Galenia, and Gabriella finds a book and is foolish enough to pick up the book, even though it was kind of obvious that it was a trap. So the three of them get sucked into the Pixie Lands at the end of that story.
Oh, okay.
And that's where this story comes from. They wake up in the Pixie Lands. They're
tied down by a bunch of tiny men.
Oh, you've read that part.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Gulliver's Travels.
No, that is actually what happens at the beginning of the story.
Oh.
You had to have read that to know that.
No, I was just going to make a Gulliver's Travels joke.
Are you serious?
Yes.
So you've never read the opening to Ebrelina in the Pixie Lands?
If I have, it's been years and I don't remember it at all.
They literally wake up tied down by a bunch of little people that are questioning them, and it does not go well for the tiny people. I'm not even joking. That's how the story opens.
This is very strange because we occasionally have these strange fancies where we have the same thought processes, but this might be a new record in the sense that you're talking about the start of a story and I make a reference, and I make an unrelated reference to a historical piece of literature, and you say, yes, that is what I did, and I say, what?
I was 2 seconds shy of asking you what the name was of what the name of that story was, where the guy traveled around and got tied up by the tiny people, because I was about to mention that's how the story opens, and then you just said Gulliver's Travels. I'm like, what? And so of course my first thought is going to be, I must have sent this story to him at some point when it wasn't finished, and maybe I did, but yeah.
Okay, great. Well.
I mean, it's like the opening paragraph, maybe she should not have touched the obviously booby-trapped volume that sent them all reeling into the Pixie Lands. Maybe she should have actively avoided landing on Ebrelina to break her fall. Maybe she should have apologized. All that, maybe. But she didn't deserve this uncivilized treatment. A chupacabra should be locked in a cage at worst, And this is where it goes into, oh, they're tied up on the ground, and Ebrelina's getting very angry.
I see.
So, yeah, that's how the story opens. Bunch of little people tying up Hazred, Gabriella, and Ebrelina.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I just decided to make a Gulliver's Travels joke off the cuff, but there we go.
It's an alarming coincidence. It makes me feel like there's either something very wrong or very right with the universe right now.
What if I get a copy of your book at some point and I'm like, this is just Gulliver's Travels with the characters' names changed?
That would be even funnier because I've never read Gulliver's Travels. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, since this scene has garnered so much attention at the beginning of this, I will just give it not even a rundown, but basically, Gabriella's tied up, and she's between Hazred and Ebrelina. They're kind of tied up X-fashion on the ground, like
sure.
Like left out in the sun to die, but not really.
Okay.
Gabriella at first assumes that the other two tied her up because they're angry with her.
Uh-huh.
She always takes things very personally. It's part of her character that she takes things personally. She's a bit disgusted with human beings.
Okay.
She doesn't like work. She's very lazy.
Yeah.
She tends to be a burden to the other two just because they'll have to press her to keep going if they're traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got a lot of weird phobias and dislikes that make her hard to deal with. Like the entombing satchels that they can shove all their stuff into.
Yeah.
She doesn't like seeing things pulled out of them because it bothers her that more things fit into them than should.
Okay.
Even though she has one herself.
All right, sure.
She will turn in. Okay, so I guess another thing that needs explanation. So in these stories, the chupacabras are a race of cat-like creatures that can turn into human beings. So she's a human being, roughly the size of Ebrelina,
mm-hmm.
but she can turn into a humanoid cat-like creature that has a feathery kind of face, and everyone finds that adorable. That was another scene from The Good Guy where Erzgelda and Tammy met her, and Tammy couldn't resist giving her a hug when she turned into a chupacabra. She's like, oh, it's like a doll.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a running joke because she also hates being touched by everyone.
Okay.
So she complains a lot, but she's very aware of her companions for the most part. Not necessarily how they're feeling, but what their motivations are. Like, she's got a good insight into Ebrelina, especially.
Okay.
And when she realizes that they are all tied up against their will, she kind of sort of starts to freak out because she knows that this is not going to end well because Ebrelina is going to get very angry, and there's not much anyone can do about Ebrelina blowing her top.
Yeah. She is a peril after all.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing for the Peril family. They're ridiculously overpowered as characters, and they have bad tempers.
Right, exactly.
I haven't even gotten to starting the Victorina story yet, but let me tell you. Yeah, so Gabriella's thoughts when she realizes that they're tied up is pretty simple. She's like, she thinks to herself, what fresh disaster is this? This is supreme danger, is it not? I don't think I've felt in so much danger in my whole life. This isn't how I wanted to die. Being left out in the sun to starve would be okay. Maybe even mutilated or having my limbs torn off. I could deal with that. What sick fool had the gall to tie her up and leave me next to ground zero? And then her next thought is, oh, my poor books. So that's a good insight into her character.
Okay.
She's very protective of her books. As an enchantress, she grows her spells and she kind of nurtures them, and she's really, really close to them.
Okay.
They kind of speak to her in her head, and they're more like children for her, or at least acquaintances and friends. And so she gets overprotective of all of her books, and her possessions are something she doesn't like anyone interfering with.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that, like, it's a character defect, but also a good character trait as well, because it means that she's very conscious of what's going on around her.
Okay. Kind of like a situational awareness kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes her a very good enchantress, too. Like, she pulls a trick where she can kind of map out the area that they're in and look around at what's ahead to figure out where they should go.
Like a bat or a dolphin.
Yeah, kind of like that. Except she what she does is she
Or
says
Daredevil.
she gains the trust of forests and nature and things, and then uses them to give her a bit of a GPS sort of thing going on.
Okay.
I like doing weird things with all the magic in the stories.
Sure.
I don't really write hard magic, but I give like basic things that the characters are doing with the magic.
I mean, there's nothing you can do that makes me tire of magic more than sterilizing it. So don't sterilize your magic, people.
Yeah, I never really liked, and then they used a spell. Ha ha ha.
He pushed, he pulled, he pushed, he pulled, he pushed, he pulled.
He pushed.
Pull, push,
He
pull.
Belushed. He
Ooh.
John Belushi'd.
John Belushi. That's weird. Because I was just going to say something about John Belushi, and then you did. Never mind. Let's keep going.
This is just going to keep happening. It's either some weird stand or some Lovecraftian eldritch horror thing going on.
Well, if I end up at your door one day as a pile of goo, then we'll know which.
Yeah, and just
I'll try not to get anything on the carpet.
I'm just going to toss you a few coins and close the door at that point.
Well, it could be worse. You could unload a revolver into me. So depends on which Lovecraft story we're talking about.
How will we record more Wordy Pair if you don't?
Well, I mean, I assume that if I'm turned into a globule of some sort, that I won't be podcasting anymore.
Well, I mean, if you just come to my door like that, I'm not going to assume that. I'm just going to assume that you need some cab fare home. That's why I toss you the coins.
Not toss, but like throw them at
sort
me in an angry way, just like,
Yeah, and they just sort of gloop into you.
Yes. They are of no use as legal tender at that point.
Yeah,
so anyway,
I guess moving on.
Yeah.
Gabriella might be the most fun character I'd had writing in this one.
Okay.
Because she's kind of a counter to everyone in the story. Whenever there's something that needs a little bit of extra dialogue or something, she's a good character to have a retort for because she kind of deadpans everything. And
good
there's
stuff.
Her methods of handling things are a little bit out there. Like when they're all tied up and she realizes Ebrelina's getting angry.
Yeah.
And this little chieftain from this they're not pixies. They're just like, oh God, I forgot what I called them. There was a name for them, but they're the tiny little things. Gnomes, I guess we'll call them for now. Tiny little gnomes.
I was just joking that it would be funny if you came up with the same name for them that was in Gulliver's Travels.
What was it? Pushings or
Lilliputians?
Lilliputians.
Yes.
Oh, I've heard that before. I must have read something about Gulliver's Travels before.
I mean, almost everybody. There was always some kind of little. I remember this in high school, where they gave us not the whole book, but a little summary of it or something. It was part of
one of them textbooks that had several clips of stories.
Yeah, like a tasting book kind of thing. Yeah. And so I learned about Lilliput and Gulliver's Travels and Jonathan Swift and a Modest Proposal.
Yeah, I think I probably saw the same things that you did.
Yeah. There was a TV show, too.
A TV show of what?
There was a cartoon of Gulliver's Travels.
Oh, I might have seen that. I don't remember it, though.
I vaguely remember it.
There wasn't a movie, no matter what anyone says.
I'm sure that book was never turned into a movie. Moving on.
Yeah. So Gabriella was the most fun to write because her method of problem solving was one of my favorites. Whenever there was a problem, she would have a stupid solution that probably wouldn't work, but in the instance of them being tied up on the ground and realizing that Ebrelina was going to blow her top, her solution was to, she gets approached by the chieftain and he asks if she's the leader, and Gabriella kind of looks over at Ebrelina and goes, you know what? I'm probably the one you want to deal with right now.
Yeah.
And after a minute of listening to them talking about whether they should interrogate the 3 prisoners or bring them back and boil them and eat them, Gabriella kind of goes, you know what, I'm going to do us both a favor. And she flicks out her tongue, catches the chieftain, and swallows him. Or at least looks like she does to the rest of them, who are horrified at this.
Yeah.
But then she spits him back out because he tastes terrible. And she won't be having any of that. So that plan didn't work. And then at some point, Ebrelina does kind of get angry and solves things in an interesting way that seems more violent than it is, but everything sort of works out in the end. And then Gabriella realizes that Ebrelina and Hazred could both have just broken their bonds any time. And so she's like, all right. And
we were just waiting for you to say go.
Yeah, pretty much. No, Ebrelina actually sits there knowing that she could get out if she wanted to, but just getting furious at the idea that someone would actually do this to her. And so she's got to vent a little.
Yeah.
And by venting, I mean scaring the bejesus out of these little things.
And you can't spell indignity without some of the letters that are in Ebrelina, so...
Yeah, they think they're safe because they've covered the area in an anti-magic field, and they're not safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell you already that probably wasn't going to work.
Yeah, anyone who's read The Good Guy knows that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So they get up, but they realize they're trapped in the Pixie Lands, and Ebrelina's first thought is, well, let's go find some magic treasure then. And Gabriella's like, don't you want to escape from the Pixie Lands? So yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
let's
get there
go find
eventually.
treasure.
I want the loot.
Yeah, they have a little bit of an argument. Nobody ever really argues with Hazred. Hazred is like the peaceable one of the group, and so he doesn't talk as much as the rest of them, and when he does, it tends to be either very wry or very straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. For instance, where is it? It's close to here. Yeah. So Ebrelina is sitting around as Hazred pulls a giant animal up and starts cutting it up to cook and eat for the three of them.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Do you think I should cut my hair?" And Hazred says, "I can count the number of times I've thought about your hair's length on 0 hands. Go crazy." And she tells him that's why you'll never have a girlfriend. And this is what I love doing with Hazred. He looks up at her and says, "I mated the 14 sisters of High Laudra, whose elven beauty is revealed only for the time of summer's fountain, and whose touch known only to the braves of the demon raptor's shearing." And Ebrelina just says, "Gross." Yeah, so that he
must be good at chess.
Probably. I never actually thought about whether Hazred's good at chess or not. But
you said he mated 14 people.
I get it. It makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I mean, so I wonder. No, because I have a better joke at the end of the story that loops back to that I'm not going to mention here.
That's fair.
Yeah, because there's just this whole bit where she calls it gross, and then he says, "You started it."
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, Hazred is just there to be like, he's sort of the muscle of the group, and he's sort of more protective of the other two than he needs to be, because they're quite capable of protecting themselves, but they're also much more brash than he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ebrelina will pound her fists and get angry and throw spells at things, and there's times when even she won't be paying attention, and he's just like, "Okay, whoa, slow down there, I got you." Like, just pick her up by the collar kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's much more like Gowry and Lena, because that was kind of what I was going for in this story. Is if the Racken was based off the Dirty Pair, Ebrelina is my Lena inverse. She's one of my favorite anime characters, and I wanted to have a cool sorceress of my own. So that's what's going on here. Not too many things that are similar, but those two kind of are.
Yeah. Does that make Gabriella Zell or Amelia?
I think it makes her Amelia, but I'm not really sure. I mean, there's not much about Gabriella that's very Amelia-esque. Ebrelina and Hazred appeared in The Good Guy because I also wanted to have my own cool sorceress like Lena Inverse, and I was like, well, I mean, I probably won't do much more with this, but what if I just have this character? And then it sort of, I kept thinking about what kind of character she was, and there's definitely similarities to Lena Inverse. Like, Lena Inverse did have her own temper in a similar fashion, where she might throw out a spell just in anger sometimes, but
sometimes
little less bratty than Ebrelina is. And maybe less reflective for the most part. Lena Inverse is much more a powerful sorceress who is also a young woman who kind of views the world from that perspective, whereas Ebrelina doesn't care about much more than treasure and fashion and messing around with magic. That is actually a lot like Lena.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's definitely differences. I mean, I never try to make a one-for-one copy, but she might be the closest I have to the character I based her off of. She's got Lena in the name, for crying out loud, which is a joke in itself, because part of the running joke in this story is that neither Hazard nor Gabriella will ever call her by her full name.
Right.
And I'll admit it's a bit that I'm redoing, because Tammy Knitbar in The Good Guy, everyone called her Silence and then kept adding names to her, and she didn't really get called her own name very much in the story. In this story, Gabriella and Hazard will call her Ebby, Ebri, Lena, Brelina, Brelly, anything but her full name they will call her, and she will always get angry at it.
Mm-hmm.
So just a fun running joke between the three of them, and I haven't decided if I'm going to give it a satisfying ending like Tammy got, or if I'm just going to keep it going at that.
Oh, that's fair.
And actually, Ebrelina, the name Ebrelina came from a combination of Lena Inverse and Esmeralda Weatherwax, because they always called Esmeralda Weatherwax in the Terry Pratchett stories. Githa Og always called her Esme. So
yeah,
Ebra in Ebrelina was kind of my Esme version of Ebrelina.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
None of that's important. I just kind of figured
nobody's it's character details. Character details are important.
Yeah, and it's one of them ones where nobody but me is ever going to know it, so it doesn't matter if I spoil it.
Well, we all know now. You just told us.
Yeah.
It's too late for that. That ship has sailed.
All right, so we've got the story here. They end up in the Pixie Lands, and immediately they see that something's wrong with the magic. Ebrelina is messing around and kind of realizes, the magic's kind of thin here. Like, as a sorceress, her magic ability is to draw on sources of power. Mm-hmm. Whereas enchantresses like Gabriella more sort of grow power or convince nature to lend them power.
Okay.
And they kind of hold on to spells for a long time and eventually release them into more powerful spells.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that's an interesting difference in structure.
Yeah, and they don't know where all the magic is in this land, and it's really weird because at some point Gabriella comes to the conclusion that, there's no core demon in this world. I can't feel a core demon here. Mm-hmm. And Ebrelina's like, that's kind of weird. There should always be a core demon if you're drawing on magic from the world itself, and we can clearly feel that there's magic, but whatever. And so they slowly become aware that there's some weird things going on in the Pixie Lands.
Well, are they? They're in a book, right? Or is the book like a teleporter? Or
the book was a trap that was sprung on them, and up until this point, they assumed that the Pixie Lands were a fairy tale. But when the trap was sprung, Ebrelina became aware that, this is taking us to another world. Okay. And it seems to be a little bit like this fairy tale land. And it's not really a fairy tale land. They think about some of the stories and think about some of the things going on, and it just doesn't... Something doesn't add up. But as
there's no egg baskets.
Yeah, there's no egg baskets. There's is there an egg basket? Maybe I should have included one of them. I wasn't. You might have included an egg basket. I think they could jump into an egg basket and ride away at the end. Yeah, so they keep running into people who are talking about this witch, and they're calling her the Bone Witch, and the Bone Witch is taking every magical artifact in the land for herself.
Okay.
And they catch some clues that there's this area in the Pixie Lands that actually is in the books. They've got strange names like Bone Witch Castle from the stories is actually a real place in this world. Yeah. And that's located in a larger area that is, it's called the Deadlands. And the Deadlands are part of an even larger area that is called Minnesota Downs.
What?
Yeah. So and everyone talks about it like that's a perfectly normal name, and I love doing stuff like that in the stories, so that's the joke. It's just a funny name given to a magical area in a bookish land.
Do they have the accent?
They do not have the Minnesota accent. No, they have ghouls. Damn. Lots of ghouls.
Oh, okay.
It takes them about halfway through the book Minnesota. To even get there. Yeah.
You're going to have to put a disclaimer at the start of this one. This is actually a work of fiction.
Yeah. So I clearly based that off of real life Minnesota, and they talk about other books in the story. Like I forget the name of it, but there was like 101 elf jokes or something was supposed to be one of the most magical tombs in the world. And
Tombs or tomes?
tomes. I'm sorry. I was looking at a word.
The ghouls have 101 elf jokes in one of their tombs.
Well, no, Gabriella has a copy of 101 Elf Jokes, which is actually a book on advanced magic that elves can't even use.
No, I was just working on the play on words of why there would. I mean, if there's ghouls, then they have tombs.
Oh, I see.
And, okay.
I mean, it does work to some extent. I don't know. This might all make it into the edit.
Yeah.
And so as they move on, as I am wont to do, this story is kind of more about, slowly unfolding what's happening and having the occasional fight scene.
Yeah.
The fights are a bit different than they were in The Good Guy, because The Good Guy was all about physical battles, whereas this is more magical battles. And so I had to come up with clever ways to keep the magic interesting.
Okay.
And clever is in quotes.
Give us a couple of hints. What did you do? Don't say I don't remember.
I don't remember. I've been doing this book for a long time. I should have had it done years ago, and I just kept stopping and writing other things. And eventually I was like, I should really finish the Ebrelina book. That's the one that probably matters most right now.
Yeah.
There is a fight where there's always something weird going on in this story.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, completely innocent in their travels, Ebrelina and Hazred and Gabriella are camping out, and by camping out, I mean Ebrelina actually pulls an entire gigantic tent thing out of her entombing satchel.
Is it Coleman branded?
It is not Coleman branded, but
that's a shame.
She does have like a boudoir inside of it, and just wanders in to sleep. And there's like a heat rock and everything for Gabriella to sleep on. Okay. Despite the fact that she's more cat-like and bird-feathered than the typical image of a chupacabra. Yeah. She's played out as more of a cold-blooded creature, where she likes heat rocks and she likes to lay about in the sun. And I talk about how if she was in the jungle instead of raised in Victorina's castle with Ebrelina, she probably would have just been lounging on the back of cows and sucking blood from their necks most of the time. Yeah. So there's that. And the first, I don't know if it's the first big battle. It's definitely it's the first battle they really have with Yarpsy, I think. And it's kind of indirect, because Yarpsy sends out this shade thing called a Shadjamez. Okay. And as Ebrelina is sleeping, she's having a dream about being very tiny and riding an ant into battle against an army of spiders. Okay. And it's just this weird dream that she's having. I kind of thought, okay, well, everyone just has weird dreams. Why does she have to have some important dream just because she's dreaming in a story? So she's just going to be having a weird dream where she thinks she's the queen of the ants. And it's like, I described her in the dream as just being Ebrelina, but having two little ant antennas on her forehead. All right. So she's got a little like toothpicky like blade of grass as a sword. Mm-hmm. And she's riding this ant, and they're going into battle against a spider, and things get a little bit weird as the dream goes on. It's kind of a whole couple of pages of this dream happening. And at the end of it, this thing that Yarpsy sent... Oh, Yarpsy is the Bone Witch, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. No, maybe not. Yeah. But yeah, so the sense. Bone Witch that everyone is afraid of is Yarpsy. And Yarpsy becomes aware of these three and is like, well, nobody should be able to use that much magic in this world. What is going on? And when she realizes that... She doesn't quite get a hold of just how powerful Ebrelina is at first, but she knows that she's more powerful than she should be. So she sends this creature to invade Ebrelina's dream. And these creatures are supposed to be able to possess you in your dreams. And they can't really do much to you, but she could bring her to Yarpsy. So the plan is invade the dream, take control of Ebrelina's body, have her come back, and then they were going to put a collar on her and enslave her so that she couldn't use her magic, and she worked for Yarpsy. Okay. And the thing that happens in the dream is... I deliberately keep what happens vague, but I make it clear that Ebrelina becomes aware of something being wrong, and how like the spiders have scattered and everything's sort of taken this darker tone,
Yeah.
and something is there that shouldn't be. Because up
Okay.
until now, it's everything in her own head. That's all that's there. But now there's this invader.
All right, that's cool.
So we get back to Yarpsy, who I will explain what she is in a minute. But essentially, she's having a good laugh because Ebrelina comes clambering all the way across the land, just running at top speed. And she's like, by the time she gets here, the Shadjamez will have worn her body out so much that she won't even be able to resist. And she shows up, and she thinks everything's gone perfectly, and then she's like, hang on, something's wrong. And then Ebrelina kind of gets this big smile on her face, and she's like, that's not her. She sent the Shadjamez back. She possessed the Shadjamez. And oh my god, is that a spell guy? Oh, she's going to blow us up, isn't she? So that's kind of how the magic works in this. And after that, because Yarpsy's power in this land is kind of far-reaching, she's pretty much completely in tune with the Pixie Lands, and the Pixie Lands belong to her.
Yeah.
She can occasionally like appear to them and send them messages, and she's threatening them to stay out of her way. And she thinks that they're there to disrupt whatever her plan is.
Yeah.
And she doesn't realize that Ebrelina's sole motivation is to get treasure. And now that they know there's a powerful witch, obviously she's the one that would have cool treasure. So now they're coming after her.
Yeah.
So it's this big miscommunication between the two, where Yarpsy's like, they're going to foil my plans. They're trying to interfere with my plans. I'm not going to let them. You know, a classic like 1960s Gargamel-style villain.
Yeah,
only significantly more threatening in terms of actual ability.
Like Dr. Claw.
Yeah, kind of like that. And Yarpsy is a little bit intimidating compared to the rest of them because, I mean, maybe not Hazred, but she's a satyr, so she's essentially a goat woman. She's half goat, you know, got hooved legs or hooved feet and hairy satyr goaty legs.
Okay.
But
and she leans gracefully against the tree to play the flute.
Yes, she does lean gracefully against the tree to play the flute. That's a given. And it's her whole story is just based off of one interaction she has. She meets Hazred early in the story without realizing who he is at first. Yeah. And the impression that Hazred brings back when he's talking to Ebrelina about this person that he met is like, he tells her that she thinks she's human, but she's clearly a satyr. Yeah. And she tells him that the satyr is just a disguise that she's projecting the image of a witch, and she figures that a satyr is a better image for a witch than a human, so she's using magic to turn herself into a satyr. Okay. And Hazred this is early in the story, so it's not really spoiling too much, but Hazred is telling Ebrelina she's a satyr. She's definitely a satyr. She thinks she's not a satyr, and that's weird. And so it creates this mystery for them to sort of think about as the story unfolds.
Huh. All right. That's a nice hook.
Yeah, and it's after that Yarpsy finds the gnome village and is like, what happened here? There was some magic here. What's going on? And there's a little bit of a comedy bit where she finds out there was a sorceress there, and then she pretty much tells the chieftain, is like, oh, all right, I'm going to have to torture you for information now. And I sort of just cut it off there just to make it like a comedy thing. Like, did she really torture him for information or what?
Torture.
Yeah. LOL torture. That's the fun sadistic humor you can expect in Ebrelina and the Pixie Lands.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the magical battles are usually like that, where there's some weird twist to everything that happens, and it's not necessarily anything super clever every time. There's a few I thought were kind of fun and clever, but I'll leave them for other people to decide. My favorite battle in the story doesn't even involve Ebrelina, unless I pull one out of nowhere for the very end. I'm still writing the final battles, but so far I think the best one that I managed was they do not meet Yarpsy for a long time in this story. Okay. And when they finally do, it's Gabriella by herself.
Oh,
and
okay.
she's using a spell to keep the ghouls away from her because they're in Yarpsy's land now and it's just covered in ghouls, and they all got separated.
Yeah.
So actually, I wonder if it would probably be too hard for me to pick out exactly. Well, I mean, Control F, that's what that's for, right? I see if this will bring it up. Yes, indeed. Okay. So just the meeting of these two alone was one of my favorite parts, but they also so far had the coolest battle I was able to put into words in this story. Gabriella trying to hold her own against Yarpsy, who throughout the story has been projected to be at least on an even keel with Ebrelina, possibly more powerful.
Okay.
And so I've got here, the book screamed at her. For a moment, Gabriella felt a chill of remorse. Were the spells upset for being brought to this dreadful place? No, one must never jump to conclusions with a precious child. She felt a tugging sensation, like the spell was crying out to warn her. Gabriella lifted her head, afraid the ghouls might have somehow crossed the barrier. And then a real chill struck her. The ghouls had stopped trying. The most persistent undead creature next to skeletons had given up, stood idly by the barrier, merely watching her. No, not her. Gabriella closed the book and stood, slowly. She flicked her tail nervously, clutched the book to her chest, and took a deep breath. She exhaled, shaking slightly, and turned. The Bone Witch had arrived. And that was how that went down. So that was...
All right.
That was just like the moment where it was like, okay, now they actually have to interact with her. That was fun.
Okay, yeah.
And like right after
Plus
that, it just...
oh, she's behind me, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah. That's essentially that trope. Yeah, and then immediately after that, they have a nice, fun, long, drawn-out battle wherein Gabriella gets wrecked. Let me just put it like that. She tries, God bless her, she tries, and she, she upsets Yarpsy a little bit here and there, but it was obvious just from the way that Yarpsy entered that Gabriella was just going to get wrecked, and she did. I mean, she took a blow from a goat headbutt in this fight.
Uh-huh. Oh,
and chupacabras
wow. Right.
are not very hardy creatures. Let's just say
You'd think that they'd be strong against goats, but apparently not.
Well, in one form, she's essentially 100% human. It's like that's their camouflage, so that they're not hunted to death by humans.
Right.
But in her other form, slightly smaller, slightly lighter, thinner bone frame and everything, really swift, claws and everything. So
chupacabra means goat sucker.
It's funny that that's actually what it means, because I did not know that. I never bothered looking up what chupacabra meant, and now it just makes it funnier that she gets beaten by a goat.
Yeah. You didn't... That wasn't intentional?
I did not do that on purpose, no. That I'm learning something new right now. Yeah, there's a fight between Hazrid and some pixies that have been possessed by some kind of weird eldritch horror that is slowly creeping up throughout the story that seems to be in league with Yarpsy, but we don't know exactly what's going on with that just yet.
Sure.
You learn a little bit about Hazrid as the story progresses, about... I keep making a reference to one of his eyes glowing red, and then he kind of messes some people up in fight. He takes out a bunch of ghouls without a problem. He's
that guy from Naruto, is what you're saying.
He is not the guy from Naruto. He is actually much more of a Record of Lodoss Wars reference, but it's still not quite pinned down there. But you start to get a sense of there's nothing really 100% normal about him. Even as a half-elf warrior, he's way too strong for what he's supposed to be. I mean, he should not be able to do some of the things he does. And, it was hinted at in The Good Guy, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with it back then. And I figured that out in this story.
Okay.
So I'll save that for the end, because you don't really get that answer until the...
We'll save that for the people who inevitably will read the book.
So I'll save that for you.
Well, I mean, you can set your hopes that low, but I mean, we're doing this podcast for a reason.
We're doing this podcast to sell my books.
Yeah, so that in 7 years, when you finally finish the book, people will be like, "Oh, I remember
that
podcast episode."
like I am at the end where they are fighting off something that they should not be able to fight off, but they're going to have to figure out how, which is one of the larger differences between Ebrelina and Ray. I think Gabriella even says at one point that, yeah, no, this problem would already be solved if her cousin was here. So yeah, this is not a family you want to mess with.
Right.
But let's see, where did we leave off? Yarpsy?
Yeah,
Yarpsy does...
we left off with Yarpsy headbutting Gabriella.
Yeah, well, I mean, I won't go ahead and put that whole fight on display. It's it's long, and there's several different things that each one tries to defend themselves and go on the offense. And
but you did let us know what happens at the end. That Gabriella loses. So that's good.
Yes.
We spoiled the important part without giving any of the fun parts.
Right, and I mean, you would be halfway through the book at this point. You'd be like, well, why at this point would Yarpsy lose? So it's not spoiling much. I set it up to be obvious that Gabriella was not going to be able to do much here.
You mean you didn't just end the story there and put 150 blank pages after it?
Yeah, no, I did not Brian Griffin it. And they do have a second fight later on where Yarpsy gets a glimpse at just how clever Gabriella is in their first fight, and then their second fight, she gets a much larger glimpse of how clever Gabriella can be. But Gabriella is always at her best when she's supporting Ebrelina.
Okay.
She tends to specialize in the right kind of defensive magic to simultaneously keep things at bay and keep her and Hazred alive when Ebrelina decides to really lay it on rough with the magic.
Okay.
And even Hazred has to stand aside sometimes for Ebrelina, even though throughout the story it's sort of hinted at that the battle that her and Ebrelina had was a bit tougher for Ebrelina than she ever admitted. But I don't like to overplay the Hazred hand, because he's not on the more powerful level of characters in my story. He would definitely be above, say, Erzgelda or Tammy in terms of raw brute force. It's difficult to say if he would be able to beat Erzgelda just because of the way they would fight with magic, but physically speaking, he would utterly destroy her.
Yeah, okay.
And just about the only character... So, you remember Tinian from The Good Guy, the fish dude that...
Yeah.
Yeah, so he would not be able to fight Tinian. Tinian being the only character in The Good Guy that anyone ever admitted was able to land a punch on Ray Peril.
Right.
And there's no way Hazred would stand a chance against Ray. But if you remember, Ray and Hazred met, and they had a nod for each other. So they knew. They both know.
Yeah.
They've got a respect for one another. It's also kind of implied throughout the story that Victorina and Ray sort of dumped Ebrelina on Gabriella with the mission of try to keep her out of trouble. And it hasn't worked for Gabriella at all.
Right.
There's a whole scene where Gabriella says, you killed all those people. You shouldn't have killed those people. And then Ebrelina, being the brat she is, she occasionally cackles because she's got that streak of madness in her like the other two. And she laughs at Gabriella and says, "You fell for that? That was all an illusion just to scare them. They thought I was killing them." Sometimes I think the spellcasting in it is really fun. There's this section of the story earlier on where they come to this place called the Alligator Kingdom.
Okay.
And there is a King Snappy who is a big fat humanoid alligator with a palace and a throne. And
all right,
they're visiting him to see if maybe they can, maybe steal some treasure from him and ask him what's going on with the whole Pixie Land thing. And I think that's where they first learn about the Bone Witch and how she's, taking all the magic artifacts and kind of not letting other people use magic and stomping that into the ground whenever she sees it. And nobody knows why.
Okay.
So all of the magical artifacts that still exist are not very powerful. And this is annoying because they came to this this alligator kingdom hoping to find a town where they could buy some magic stuff, and Hazard finds a magic glove that has an ice spell in it. It's not very powerful, but since he's an elf, he can kind of amp it up.
Yeah.
So he uses that one or two times throughout the story just for kicks. But the alligator kingdom is this weird thing where they think they're in an actual kingdom, and then as time goes on, it becomes more and more apparent that King Snappy is not a real king. He's like, no, this is kind of just like a theme park sort of thing, but it's one where we all kind of live here anyway, so we kind of treat it like a kingdom. And you know, there's a bunch of gazelle creatures that work as waiters and waitresses in the restaurant where visitors come and stay. And there's not too much interesting interaction in this part, but there's kind of like a moment where I showed Ebrelina setting up to do a spell because she thought some bandits were invading, and it turned out that it was just part of like a theme park attraction where these bandits would show up and pretend to rob people. And so when she takes them out and everyone freaks out, it's like, oh, maybe we should leave, and they kind of take off from there. It was just supposed to be this funny little thing that happened, but then it turned out that the Alligator Kingdom had this really important part later on where a bunch of mages show up and they're trying to fight Yarpsy as well, and they've got this little resistance with this group of 7 people. It's part of the later story. Doesn't matter too much, but they end up having to fight some kind of horrific creature themselves. I'm wondering just how much I can say without like giving away what actually happens.
Well, don't spoil stuff.
Yeah, there's a big battle with a horrible evil thing that this lesser bit character group of mages gets to deal with, so that I can have something for other characters to do, and that kind of rolls into the major battle with Ebrelina and everyone.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts so far? Anything else that anything specific you're thinking about while I'm?
No, I mean, it just sounds fun. You know, like usual. I mean, you know, people. I feel like people could, if they wanted to, criticize the good guy for being too much of a Deus Ex Machina story. So
they can try. I think I did a great job with it.
I mean, you did, but like my point is that like, if a person, there are people who get away, who enjoy criticizing things based on like a template, and so like, oh, this character is a Deus Ex Machina, that means bad, is kind of like a thing that I'm thinking that someone might say. Whereas,
to be fair, it's perfectly fine to criticize the story on that basis if you really want to, but you know, I mean, my intention was to show how to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, like the reflexive, like we've already mentioned that there's like some tropes in the story, and some people would say like, oh, you included a trope, that means story bad, and so like you know, the goal is to break out of these simplistic, like non-arguments that the presence of X means story bad. But the point I was trying to make is that, you know, someone might say, oh, well, you know, this guy, you know, he just writes stories with Deus Ex Machinas, and so these stories are all uninteresting, and so then your next big story is a story that doesn't have a Deus Ex Machina.
Well, I mean, the Racken definitely didn't have any Deus Ex Machinas in it.
No one cares about the Racken.
Nobody cares about the Racken. I mean, I wouldn't go so far to say that it's similar in that respect. I mean, Ebrelina's not a Deus Ex Machina, but she's not exactly. She doesn't have too much trouble, except in like, she tends to get embarrassed more than defeated throughout the story.
No, but like all these people care about is whether or not it's a Deus Ex Machina. So if she's not, then it's fine. That's my point.
Okay.
This reflexive, yeah. Hideo Kojima made a game that has a lot of cutscenes. Oh.
I'm sorry. I was just my mouse was hovering over one line here where it's like when Yarpsy and Gabriella are fighting, it's Gabriella tumbled yet again, this time flying backward in the general direction of a more forceful kick, which was quite lucky. She'd been running out of blood to cough up. So it's like, yeah, it's a brutal fight.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted one of the characters at least to get knocked around a bit. I mean, they all do to some extent with Hazard, not so much. He does get into a fight with a bunch of pixies that seem to be as strong as him, but
Yeah.
they give him a bit of a beating, and then he just gets angry, and things don't go well for them after that.
And they're pixies. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and Hazard doesn't really get angry that much, so it's the one scene where it's like, oh, they're toast.
Yeah.
You made the calm guy angry. Never make the calm guy angry.
Never make the calm guy angry. What were you thinking? We were thinking we could take him. You're pixies. You can't take anything. You're literally the butt of all European mythology.
I mean, they're kind of cool in this story. There's really only one that has any true character in this story. He's a dude named Satellite Harvest.
Okay.
And he's a clairvoyant that Yarpsy sent to try and capture Gabriella.
All right.
There's where you start to see some of the touches of the good guy in it, because he follows them around, but it's very clear that he wants to make sure to get them separated, because he knows that he won't stand a chance if Ebrelina's involved, and so he's very cautious about that. And that's kind of that whole people learning to be afraid of Ray Peril thing coming into play.
Right.
They don't learn as fast with Ebrelina, but they probably should.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he manages to sort of capture Gabriella, but they also have a bit of a fight, and he finds out that she's a lot more clever with magic than he anticipated. His style of magic is clairvoyance, which gives him a heads up on what's going on around him a little better than everyone else, and kind of lets him lay good traps for people. But the traps
cool.
aren't enough, especially when he tries to trap Gabriella in a forest, and unfortunately the forest really likes her at that point, which is it's weird how all of that works, but essentially she's really good at getting in touch with the trees or something.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And so she gains the trust of the Pixie Lands.
She owns every Enya CD.
Yeah, every single one. But she is, I guess, because there's a lot of fights in this story, so I guess I can spoil one more. She kind of reverses...
Well, half spoil it. Don't spoil the whole thing, but give us a taste.
She Uno reverses what he's trying to do, and he ends up trapped in a maze of the forest that he cannot escape from.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah. Especially for a pixie who lives in the Pixie Lands and is running through the Pixie Land forests and is like, the forests disagree with me, but I live here.
Oh crap!
Oh, they're good. They're really good.
Excellent.
He's a fun character. He will probably be brought back in something else down the road, but he plays a little bit more of a part in this later on.
Yeah.
That's close to like. Just as they're leaving the alligator kingdom, that's when he shows up and tries to capture Gabriella.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny how it happens, because they all end up in a fight against these wolves that are immune to magic. And so Gabriella's using a lot of protection magic, and they're eating through it really quickly, but it's kind of helping. So she's being useful in this fight. And the whole time, they were aware that they were being followed. And she was aware that she had been stuck with some kind of astral arrow, but she was ignoring it. Like that's how little she thought of Satellite. And he ends up pulling her out of that battle in the middle of it, which just serves to make Ebrelina angry. And he assumes that the other two are losing the fight without Gabriella, too, which is probably a mistake on his part.
Right.
But yeah, he's got a few fun parts, and him and Yarpsy are a bit of a team that you don't get to see much of beyond just her sending him out to do things.
Yeah.
There's another witch named Elta that works for Yarpsy, allegedly, but she's kind of a crazy woman that lives in the middle of the forest, and her job is when Ebrelina shows up to curse her so that she can't continue her journey. So that's another battle that gets played out on a more... that's one of the ones where it's like, it's clever, but it's not that clever, but it's kind of cool sort of thing. And I made it really weird so that it makes it a little bit cooler and a little bit like, yeah, that's kind of weird, but I guess that works.
Okay.
It's one of the moments where Ebrelina gets a little more embarrassed than anything and has to solve a problem in a roundabout way.
Okay, cool. Problem solving is always good, as opposed to just blowing stuff up.
And I tried to give it like a different type of magic for each character. So she was she was also a witch, but she wasn't a witch like Yarpsy was. She was a witch of dominion. So she sets up shop in an area, and kind of like Gabriella being an enchantress and growing spells, she grows her dominion over an area, and that makes her more effective in that area.
Okay. That's kind of cool. All right. You have an example of how that comes into play at some point in the story?
Yeah, actually, it plays a huge part when they have to fight this creature that they need more of the power of the Pixie Lands to defeat, and it kind of comes down to a combination of her and Satellite, who shows up out of nowhere. Another one of the mysteries that I put in there is towards the end of the book, there's this thing where these mages are all sitting at a table, and there's one empty chair, and Elta said, someone told me that we'd get another person, but we all know each other, and we know that there's no one else in our group that we're aware of. And then Satellite Harvest shows up, and he's like, I don't know why I'm here. I was told to be here. And he ends up working with Elta at one point to figure out what's going on with this weird creature.
Okay, cool.
But I try to give the characters a lot to do. There's a couple of bit characters that... There's this war going on between two creatures called the Pegasin and the Dragonel. Which it's very obvious what kind of creatures they are from the names.
Yeah, the Pegasin are dragons, and the Dragonel are horses with wings.
Exactly. I kind of make that joke with two of the characters. I give them names that imply that they're of the opposite species than they are. Yeah. So the Dragonel has a very Pegasin-sounding name, and the Pegasin has a very Dragonel-sounding name. But they're in the midst of this war, but there's also two of them that are working together as mages in one part of the story, so nobody knows what's going on there too well.
Dragonel, wherefore art thou, Dragonel?
Yeah. I have a snake person in it.
Okay.
And you might be a little bit surprised to find that it's a hissing snake neck person that is very reminiscent of something out of Sylvia Saga. But I also wrote this before Sylvia Saga, so I kind of got that from writing this. That's where the where the myth came from.
Yeah.
So that character that character is one of the mages in the story, but she's not really a mage. She just seems to have this technology that is very useful to the rest of them, and it's a sort of nod back and forth between those two stories that these people exist. Sure.
All right. Well, any last overall kind of thoughts you want to give about this story?
Yeah, we have been going for a while, haven't we? Let's see. Not really sure what to close on. I mean, it's not finished yet. I certainly don't want to say what happens at the end because the mysteries that are set up are fun to go through. But the real fun of this one, kind of like how the fight scenes were the fun of The Good Guy. Yeah. In this one, it's kind of the fight scenes, but it's also how the characters use magic to solve different problems.
Sure.
It's a lot of the character interactions. Gabriella and Ebrelina are constantly at each other's throats, as best friends often are, where they will not pull any punches with what they're thinking about the situation.
Yeah.
Whereas Gelda would often be afraid to say what she's thinking to Ray Peril because...
For good reason.
She watched him kill a whole bunch of vampires. and she kind of got beat up herself, yeah.
Yeah.
Gabriella, knowing full well just how powerful Ebrelina is, she will say whatever she wants to Ebrelina, and she will not pull a single punch from it. And actually, that reminds me, this is probably the best thing to leave off on. Okay. I mentioned how she fought Ray Peril. Ebrelina fought Ray Peril in The Good Guy, and she, by Ray Peril's own admittance, she's the most powerful sorceress there is, but she cannot beat him. And she's fought him something like 14 times and lost every time.
Yeah.
And Gabriella loves to remind her of this, not to make fun of her, but just to say, this will be the 14th time you've said you're going to get him. Do you want to just maybe not try this time and move on?
Yeah.
She kind of has a complex where she weighs herself against her cousin in a lot of things, and it really frustrates her that she's never been able to beat him.
Uh-huh.
So this comes up several times in the story where even Hazred is like, you're thinking about how your cousin would handle this, aren't you? And she's like, of course I am. Every time I try to do something, all I can think is he would probably do it better.
He would pull a thing from nowhere and it would solve the problem, and there'd be a lot of gore and people exploding, and then he'd keep moving.
And there's a little bit of an implication where the underlying source of her anger is this fact that she feels like she's playing second fiddle to her cousin, even though she knows that she's more powerful magically than he is. I mean, certainly not.
Yeah.
Like she's terrified of how powerful he is from his ability to invent things and solve problems. And
yeah,
and yes, he's also very powerful as a sorceress as well. But not a sorceress, a sorcerer as well. But it's kind of funny because, like, Victorina, by her own admittance, would not be able to defeat her brother in battle.
Yeah.
And Ebrelina is way, way more terrified of Victorina than she is of Ray Peril. And Victorina, the interaction that they've had largely implicates her as not being anywhere near as powerful magic-wise as either Ray or Ebrelina.
Yeah.
But being the most devastatingly powerful swordswoman in the world. Her swordplay is the absolute best, top-notch. Ray Peril gives a nod to it. And she taught Ebrelina how to fight with a sword. So despite the fact that Ebrelina is kind of weak of frame and wouldn't be able to hold her own physically against very much, she is an incredible swordsman herself.
Swordswoman.
Swordsman.
I mean, you just called Victorina a swordswoman, so.
Yes, well, she acts more mature than Ebrelina, so.
Sword girl, then.
Yeah, sword girl.
What was that series? That game series? There was a Super Nintendo. Valis.
Valis, yes. I have a Valis character. Actually, I have several. I mentioned one of them in The Good Guy. One of them is dead. It was Alice of Yost, the ghost that ends up inside Tammy's head.
Okay, yeah.
The one that lets her use a sword.
Okay.
God, Tammy is amazing. It's still one of my favorite characters I ever wrote. But yeah. So that's kind of one of Ebrelina's motivating factors is her inadequacy issues compared to her cousin.
Sure.
And her fear of Victorina. And
Sir not appearing in this film.
Yeah, well, there is a Sir not appearing in this film. There's another character that I'll be introducing later on that is another member of the Peril family. And I'm going to do a short story with Ebrelina and this character after I do this. And it'll be a fun one to check out because it will be another character that is pretty much a foil to Ebrelina.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, okay, well, this is not a character that should be as good at magic as I am, but why am I having trouble fighting this character? And
I see.
I want someone else for her to butt heads with, because Yarpsy is one character that is a good counter for Ebrelina, because they're both kind of at their peak power-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But Yarpsy also has all of the power of the Pixie Lands at her command, so it makes for an interesting battle for Ebrelina, who's used to being, if not better in the case of Ray Peril, at the very least more powerful than everyone around her. And so Yarpsy is a fun one for her to deal with.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah, so I guess that's it without spoiling too much more. There's a lot of fun new characters in this one.
Okay.
There's revisits of a couple of characters from The Good Guy. New mysteries, a little bit of expanding on what started in The Good Guy and where the entire saga will be going at some point. None of these are meant to be sequels for each other. Everything is going to be written as a standalone, but there'll be parts where it's like, oh, if you've read The Good Guy, you'll recognize a thing or two here, but it's not important to the story necessarily.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's it. I'm going to go through and do the edits and try and make it a fun read. It does end on another very long battle like The Good Guy did. That was on accident this time. I didn't want it to be quite that long. It might actually be longer in the end.
Yikes.
But it's not going to be like the last chapter of The Good Guy where it's like half of it is this long build-up and then the other half is a really long battle. It's like it's all just this really long battle that is going on and on and on.
All right. Well, sounds like something fun to look forward to for people. Pre-sales start September 1st, and...
Wait, what? No, I mean, I'm trying to have it done before then.
And
I'm trying to have it done before then, because I'm trying to get it done before the deadline for the Kindle Unlimited publishing contest.
Yeah.
I forget what the cutoff date is, but I should be able to pull it off. Hopefully I can get all the editing done before then, and then it has to be published. Their contest rules are, it has to be done Kindle Unlimited, so it has to be exclusive. Yeah. And it has to... You have to do at least the paperback print version as well, which is not hard to set up, so it's not a big deal.
No, that's easy. All right. Then I guess that is an episode. Well, everybody, thanks for there's no visual medium here, is there? Thanks for listening. And this is the Wordy Pair. As always, I'm Rudy.
And I'm Justin, and thanks for watching your back there.
Yeah, that's what we'll call it.
Yeah. Always look over your shoulder when you're listening to this. You never know when some demon will possess you while you're sleeping, or I don't know, something.
I mean, you should also look over your shoulder while you're eating soup, but that's a totally different story.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what am I forgetting about the soup thing?
Thanks for listening to the Wordy Pair Podcast. Our passion is all things writing, world building, and getting into the weird and wonderful world of fiction. We hope you enjoyed our unique takes. If you did, make sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to get your weekly dose of writing weirdness. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter. For Rudy, it's @Rudolph_Cone. And for Justin, @Ninja Mouse Chew. See you next time on the Wordy Pair Podcast.